Mediumship Exposed. Most asked questions, with over 40 questions that you have asked me over my time as a medium. Okay. This audio just really is going to highlight the answers to the questions that most people ask me day in, day out. Everybody keeps telling me how my answers are so simple and it cannot be that easy to connect to spirit. And I just want to highlight to you in this audio that basically it is. And obviously over years of being a natural medium, I have learnt the quick ways, or understand really, that spirit is always around us, always communicating with us, and really it's us that cut off from them, being part of the material world. So here we go then. First question I've been asked is, can anyone communicate to spirit? Well, basically, yes. If you get gut feelings, if you get intuition, you know, when you get that, oh, I must give such and such a call, or I must go to this place. If you act upon them, you're letting the spirit world know that you're actually communicating. All a medium does is he gets these information, he finds out what the big picture is, what they're trying to tell him, and passes it on. So if you just get a diary, or you get a piece of paper, write down when these things come from nowhere. Because that's basically just signs to let you know that they're helping you. And the more you act upon it, the more message you get. Just like mediumship, when we get one message and we let the picture grow, then the next message come in. And all of a sudden a story will get, or confirmation will come through. So yes, everybody can communicate. Obviously, people say, well, you are at different levels. If you connect properly and you connect to the source, then you can gain any information. And so hopefully throughout the questions you'll understand this. Okay. Second question is, why do they give me loads 1 minute, none the next? This could be very frustrating, but what they're trying to teach you is to be an open vessel. Okay? They're trying not to put too much into the messages. Then, when you just receive the message and just pass it on, you're doing what you should do. The problem that we get is we get frustrated because 1 minute we're getting all this wonderful information and all excited, and then we put thoughts to it, and then we're stopping the flow. When you're trying hard, you stop the flow, because energy is about free flowing. So the best thing for you to do is just to be like blasé and just go, well, if I get something today, I get something. If I don't, the less you need it, the more you just see it as part of everyday life, the more messages you get. And sometimes part of development, they'll shut you down one day so that you don't need it. Because people sometimes get too much that they want it, or because it gives them a sense of purpose in life, they become too needy of it. And this is bad, because this is not what it's all about. At the end of the day, the message that you get to pass on is the gift. And it's a two-way experience. And once you recognise that, that's when you learn the most and get the most messages. Question 3. I keep being told I am a healer. A lot of people go to psychics and they announce that they're healers. Most mediums are healers. Because at the end of the day, to have the empathy, to feel things, to understand, you can then relate to the person, you can understand with the messages. And so communication, talking to people, helping people out is healing. So yeah, but if people are just telling you all the time that you're healers, and you want to be a medium, then it's really gets you down. But don't worry about it. It's just basically they're playing safe by saying you're a healer, because most people are healers, and so it's easy enough to say that in a reading. Alright. Question 4. Do I need a guide to communicate? Depending on the level of mediumship that you're going to work with, depends on whether you need a guide or not. I tend to find that I have my soul that helps me, but for me, I like to deal directly with the spirit, with the relative. This means that if I'm dealing directly with them, it gives me an extra sense of getting their mannerisms, getting how they are, getting proof. Obviously, I have to build it up a little bit more by getting the energy, but sometimes when you're dealing with too lots of information, I'd like to feel the information I'm getting, and so I can pass that information on. So I don't actually go through. Once I've connected to them directly, then I feel that even if they've gone over quite quickly, it might not be as clear when the information comes through, because they still have to learn to have the energy to actually communicate with me. I still find that I can pull in a little message or a bit of proof that can make a difference to the people. So to me, I try and deal directly with the spirit. I'm not saying working with the guide is wrong, but at the end of the day, you've got nobody to blame if you're working directly. And so, because how many times oh, well, that's what my spirit said, and that's what my guide said. Well, that's a load of rubbish, to be quite honest, because you're just passing the buck. At the end of the day, you deal directly, gain the information, it's first hand, and it makes it more for the customer. So that's the way I deal. And as I say, you have to find your own way. If you want to have your guide and have a name for them, that's up to you. But I don't like to stop the flow, because I know it's energy. So the more I can actually work directly, the better. Right, oh, this is a good one. Why don't I get names? Now, the one thing that I've learnt is that you see these wonderful people on TV coming out with some great names, and you think, well, why come on, how come we don't get that on a regular basis? While working with spirit, a lot of the times I've realised that it takes a lot of energy. And so the only ways that you can actually get regular information is once you've built the actual energy up. And so the more you clear your emotions, the more that you create good energy, then the spirit world can communicate with you and pass on. But if they're just trying to get a message through, it's easier to get through with images, with feelings, and this takes less energy. Okay, because they always say, a picture paints 1,000 words. So they're going to give you that stuff quicker. And then once they build up the energy, they might give you the name, or they might give you other names of family members that they want to talk to, or they want to talk about. So they try not to waste their energy. Okay, but you can get names, but that will build up with part of your development. The ringing in the ears, your name being shouted out of nowhere, and then eventually, but when you get a good link, they can talk away and give you information. So it is possible, but once you focus on it, because I tell you, you open that door to the spirit world, anybody will give you a name. And the reason why they'll give you a name is because then they can jump the queue. I like to get them in line so that when I'm communicating, and the amount of times that I'm rolling, giving great information, a name pops out, I give that information, and they goes, well, that's not the person we're talking to. And of course then another person's trying to get in. Because they'll fight on the other side to talk. So try not to concentrate on names. If they come through, brilliant. But by the time you've ascertained which side of the family are on, who they are, you've described a little about them, you've probably got who they are. And then you can concentrate on the message, which is more important. Okay, question 6. Do I have to be doing it for 20 years to be any good? Well, a lot of us have got the ability. There's a lot of light workers out here. They're naturally gifted. A lot of people probably was mediums in past lives. And it's only society and people that seem to put us down and make us out there, oh, you've got to do this and you've got to have so many years experience. I've taught many people within 10-15 minutes to communicate with spirit. But at the same time, experience is good for the learning, as long as you understand it's a two-way experience. And if you don't, you won't learn as quick. I've known some mediums that have been 20-30 years, and they still don't get the message of what it's about. They still don't connect to the source and get the information. So I don't always think that experience is that important. Open-mindedness to understand that they can teach you within a matter of minutes, or you can access the information in a matter of seconds, is all that's needed. And so you probably have been communicating either in a work situation or in a spiritual situation without knowing it. I certainly did, because I used to do a lot of automated writing. I used to do a lot, but I was helping a lot of people, and then it dawned on me, well, I'm already speaking to them, because they're passing the information to pass on to people. And then suddenly I started to recognise that there was information for myself. So you don't really need to have 20 years. Experience is good because you learn as you go. Sometimes I just think it's me. Can I be too negative? Right. Trying too hard is very important. You've got to imagine that everything is energy. Okay? And once you realise that everything is energy, you start to see that when you focus on something, you're putting too much energy to it, you're stopping the flow. Alright? If you're putting out negative thoughts, oh, I'll never get this, I never get messages, you're saying to the universe, show me I don't get messages. So what happens? You don't get messages. It's really your thought form of what you're putting out is very important. Once you realise you've just got to be an open vessel, and you've just got to accept and give, then it's not about you. It's not about what you put into it. Yes, you've got to work on the mediumship or give yourself opportunities to use the mediumship. I've had plenty of people say to me, well, my mediumship don't work anymore. My healing works, but my mediumship. And I'd say to them, well, what have you done? How have you put yourself in an area to actually do the mediumship? Are you making notes of what you're getting through the day in a diary? Are you actually going to an event? Are you giving yourself an opportunity for it to happen? And that is the thing. But back to the situation, you can be too negative. And the more negative you are, the more you stop the flow. Because it's just like a river. You put too much water in, you burst the banks, you stop the actual natural flow. And it's all about going with the flow. If I get a message today, brilliant. If I don't, it doesn't matter. Because I know that it's a gift, and I know that it takes a lot of energy, and I know that it's used in the right time it's meant to be used. Okay? And that's important. So stop trying, just relax and give yourself opportunity to speak to spirit. Because I'm telling you, they're communicating all day long. Why can't I be spot on like all the other mediums? This is an illusion. With the influx of TV and one thing and another, you only see the best bits. The amount of people that say to me, well, the actual message is variable. And a lot of the times the information that you actually give is in such a way that the person actually embellishes the story. For example, I had a lady sitting in front of me when I was touring the country. She was like, I just said to her, look, I'm getting a plastic flower, your auntie's come through, and I'm getting something to do with the grave. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's plastic flowers to do with the grave. She went, I don't believe in plastic flowers. I went, I'm just giving you the message, my love, Anyway, she sent me an email. She went, oh, you were so right. My cousin had brought and put plastic flowers next to a grave. And, and before you knew it, it wasn't what I'd actually told her, but she'd embellished it so much that I sounded really good, But the simple message was, plastic flowers, auntie doesn't like, to do with the grave, and that's it. And all the rest about the cousin and this, that and the other had nothing to do with me. So this is what I'm saying to yourself. The variable information, and it's more to do with yourself being confident to say, look, I might get it wrong, because when I'm getting a message, I've got to wait for the right message to come through, and I've got to work it in such a way. If anybody was given a rose and said, what does that mean? Every single person might come up with a different meaning. Well, you've got to actually work it out, what the spirit world has given you, and it's got to be in such a way that that person can understand it, but also they can take it. There might be information that they're not going to know about, like the plastic flowers, and they need to go and find out about it. So you can't be 100% perfect. Alright, so but the message you give will make a big difference, because now she went away, she realised that her auntie was around her, and knew that she was gone to the grave. It made a lot more sense, and it was made her a lot more happy. Okay. Why do some people know who are psychic or not? This is another thing that really annoys me, because everybody says to me, Well, you know who's psychic and who's not. Well, if everybody's got the ability, then how do I know who's psychic and who's not? But so many people come up to me and go, "Whoa, I know you're psychic." And yet, if you ever met me, you would think I'm the most down-to-earth person. And everybody who I talk to says, "How you're psychic?" I don't know, because you just don't fit the image. You make it sound so simple, and well, it is, you know. And you put it in such a way that we can understand it. Well, I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't want to know people's information, so I wouldn't tune in to anybody unless asked. That is my own personal. I don't want to know everybody's. I worked for a football club. I was dealing with 1,000 people a week. Do you think I wanted to know all their stories in my head? No, because it's not. Because when I worked in the children's section of residential, I had to deal with a lot of people I didn't really want to like. But I had to be professional. Now, I haven't got a clue why people act the way they do. There's always a reason. So who am I to judge? I'm not in this business to judge. I'm in this business to give a message that's passed over. And so I need to be a state of mind and open-minded enough to be able to accept that. Okay, next message. My friend doesn't even meditate and she tells me how good she is. If anybody's putting power over you, if anybody's telling you how good they are, then spirit world will work with anybody, good, bad, indifference. And a lot of the times, if someone's shouting how good they are, the one thing I've learned in football or in anything, anybody who does the shouting, you know, they always say those who walk the walk and those who talk the talk. Well, I'm telling you, I've met the people that shout about it, they'll get the rug pulled under them, and you'll see them when they're in action. I've seen more people do the talking and never actually showed me what they could do. So, if someone's telling you that they don't even meditate, they're obviously not opening the lines of communication, they're not getting themselves prepared, and so to be quite honest with you, they might deal with low-level spirits, but low-level spirits will only tell you so much for so long. And so, I'm telling you now, meditation is very important, because it gets you more tuned in, it releases the energy to make the connection a lot better. Question 11. Why do some mediums tell me nasty stuff and some don't? Now for me, I would never give somebody something to focus on. If I was told by the spirit world of a situation that might happen, now there's nothing to say that I will actually know what will happen. Okay? This is the thing, you might get a vision or a picture of an accident. Okay, unless the spirit world really push it upon me, then I might highlight to watch out on a particular day for certain things that I can give them that will help them to not go through that. But mostly, you give them information, they can actually focus on it and they can actually make it happen. So you've got to be very important, and this is where I think the line is crossed. Yes, it sounds great if I said, you know, in 3 months you're going to have breast cancer and basically you're going to be alright. Now, I might get that they're going to be ill, I might even get the breast cancer, but this is certainly something I might want to pass on to anybody to focus on. And because experience is important. That person might be in a car crash, you know, and that person might then write a book that helps 1 million people. But if I've stopped them from having that experience, then I've stopped what they were born to do. So you really got to be careful about information. But if it does come from the spirit world that I can change it, or I can help them to change the situation, then I will put it in a way that will help them. So for me personally, I don't give bad information. Okay, if this person says to me, I don't mind what you bring through, I will still bring it through in a certain way that they can relate to it. And at the time that it happens, they'll understand the message that I've given them. And I think that's more important. We're only here to guide. We're not here to tell people what to do. And so you can create a totally different world by giving what you give. And because the information is variable from spirit, you don't exactly know what the outcome of that situation is. So to actually tell people nasty stuff I really don't find, and I don't find that most mediums who do that obviously really work with the light. I have to be quite straight on this because it's okay to give people information that will help them and guide them, but I do find that giving them nasty stuff for them to focus on can actually create situations, and so for me that's not the done thing. Okay, number 12, can't do visualization. Right, when I was driving along once, I said to Spirit World, I said, how can I teach people to visualize? Because it's a natural thing for me. I can imagine an apple in front of me. I can see it through my eyes. I can see, and it's just a knowing that it's an apple. That's a lot of the time it is. It's not actually you can see it on the wall and it's brightly coloured and this, that, and the other. It's like a knowing of the picture. Yeah, and that's why through the clairvoyance I can get good pictures, but I think it's because you've got to be more open-minded that it doesn't have to be, full colour, blah 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 blah, because that's not what the picture is. You're just gaining information, and it's going to grow anyway. So you just need to be able to know that you can see a picture. Well, visualization, if you can just, most of the time it's because the person doesn't actually know the object. Now, Spirit World will only bring through symbols that you know. So don't worry about it. They'll only bring you information that you know about. To increase it, then you need to go around objects and really get to know them. And try my visualization that I've got on my site. Okay, because that really goes into a bit of detail on how to do it. The secret of actually how to do it. And to get the picture in your mind's eye and to make it grow and speak to spirit. Everybody can do visualization. The problem is you have to learn to let go, and you can't control the picture, and that's where people go wrong. Okay. Number 13. Why do you go to a place to connect? Well, the reason for me is when I first started my career, I created this place. It became when I was ill as well, but this place was magical. It made me feel safe, warm, happy, and I could switch off from the world, but also meant that visualization, seeing things, listening was a lot clearer. And then over the years I learnt to use tools and used to do this, that and the other. When I was touring, they all mentioned about the tools, but now I've gone back to my place, because to be quite honest with you, when I'm communicating with spirit or doing online readings, going to my place means that I haven't got the negativity of the day. I am not holding on to the rubbish, and so which stops me from communicating to spirit. And in time, when you build it up, which I've created another product for you to do with the meditation, once you build it up with your 5 senses and everything, you can actually go there with a click of your fingers. But first you need to develop it and build it up, and then eventually you can learn to switch in and out, which goes on to my next question. You seem to be able to switch in and out. Okay, well, eventually when you can just go into that world, it's just like daydreaming. And so by the more times you've done the visualization of your place, the more you can just tune in quickly into their world. And it's just like a daydream, and then bang, you can communicate with them. Okay, so that is it. That's how easy. Getting on their wavelength, getting on their actual energy line is a lot clearer if you go to a place to communicate. Alright? And you can even get to the soul of the person, you can get to the guides and bring them in and communicate. So it's a brilliant. Okay? I would recommend anybody to do that. It also gives you a place to go, and if you're not quite able to go to the place, or you find that I have a nice pond there, and if that pond is a bit shaky when I'm going to stand on it, I know then that I've still got a bit of emotion and a bit of negativity still attached to me that I need to let go. So I'm not relaxed enough to communicate. So it's a good sign as well. But I would say to you, eventually when you build it up, you can switch into that place quite easily. And also it's a better place to communicate. And also for loved ones, because you do find that it's very hard with the emotional sense to know that your loved one's around. and it takes a symbol. By knowing by a symbol, then you can actually talk to them. Okay. Number 14, you seem to be able to switch. Right, we've done that one. Number 15, why do I get a lot of headaches, feel drained and back hurts? People always complain about fatigue and headaches and drained. This is a sign that the spirit are with you. Because if it's family members, we get highs and lows. Also, you're not grounded. If you get taps on your shoulders or you feel a bit of tingle, this is like spirit world trying to open you up. Now, if you do open up during the day or you do a lot of daydreaming, you're going to be a lot in their world. And if you're going to be a lot in their world, you're going to be drained a lot quicker. And your body's not going to be able to put up with that for so long. Okay? So really, grounding is important. Try my grounding tree exercise, because that is so important. Because the more you're grounded, the more you can feed off the source of the energy for your body, and also you can feed off the energy of the spirit world. Normally when your lower back done, that means they've taken too much energy off you. You've given too much away. Happens a lot when you do paranormal events as well, because they're always trying to drain. Also means a sign that something negative. So it could be people psychic attacking you, or it could be you're absorbing too much rubbish, and this will do your lower back. Because lower back is like you're not feeling supported. It also can be a sign. Okay, but headaches a lot of time comes because we've overdone it, not drank enough water, we're being attacked. Ask the angels to take whatever's away just in case something's attached to you and is draining your energy. Okay, brilliant. Why do I get relatives they don't know? Well, when doing a reading, sometimes you get relatives that are obviously they're still going to watch over you, they're still going to be able to give you messages, but a lot of the time it's normally a sign. If it's a family member that they don't know, it's normally a sign to me that they might be bringing someone through. Say for example a mother or father has just gone over, a lot of emotion attached, they might not have their own energy, they might not have learnt to build up the energy to be able to communicate with you directly, and so a family member will bring them through. So if you're a good medium, you're not going to be frightened by getting a person through that they don't know about. And they also can give messages still. But I always check to see if the person knows, because it's normally a sign that they're bringing somebody else through. And so that they're actually helping somebody who you really want to communicate with. Okay. Why can't family talk to me straight away when pass over? Okay, this is a good one. Some people take 2 years, some people take 3 months, some people take 20 years I've even known before they've come through. A lot of the times there's like a burst of energy before they go over, and that's why a lot of people get to see their relatives before they go, or they get prepared by dreaming about your relatives going over. This is all a stage, and they normally have this burst of energy where they can communicate quickly or show themselves. When they go over, they start, this is what I'm told, they actually start to reflect on their lives and see how they've affected people. And so they go through this stage and then they learn on the other side about energy and how to build their energy up to come and communicate. And if they've got a lot of emotion attached, then sometimes they stay part of the earth and they haven't gone over learning about this. And so a lot of the times it's quite emotional between you and them. So it means that you're blocking them and they're blocking you. And sometimes if they step with you all the time, you're getting highs and lows. And so until we find out why you've not let them go, you know, because there's also the grieving process, there's also saying goodbye. There might be something that happened that stopped you. You saw the last breath, and that's really shocked you and really hard, or you didn't get to say goodbye. That's another emotion that people hold on to, and so unable to talk to them. I say crying is very important. I say saying goodbye is very important. But eventually, when you clear the energy, the emotion, you can feel them more in your heart, and they can communicate more, and you can go to your place to communicate with them. So often, straight away, you don't recognise the sign. You're so embroiled in your own missing them, or what you're going to do now, or the whole complex of that process, that you often, I was so couldn't believe that when my gran went over, even though I did see her go, and it really was a lot of emotion for me. But then all of a sudden, after 3 months, I realised that she had been through, because there were certain signs, but I cut it away because it hurt too much. I didn't want to feel the pain, so I went, no, that's not happening. And so I didn't open up and listen. So it's often something the case, but they'll move pictures, people will talk about them. These are all signs to let you know that they are around you, and you just don't recognise them because the pain is hurtful. And so we shut it out. We don't tend to deal with it. Okay, number 18. Why do we need to be an open vessel to receive messages? Well, the more you are like the middle of the river, you accept the fast flowing, you accept at the bottom where it's churning round, and you just have a bits of each, so you're just like an open vessel where the message comes and you give. The more you're like that, when you're not bringing any thought to the situation, then the better the message is. When our brain gets involved, we try and fit in the pieces, and this is where we go wrong. We automatically think, the situation happened for me. I was doing stand-up work in Tiverton, and there's a gentleman at the back, and I thought, I was doing ever so well because I'd got a lady and a gentleman through who this gentleman had tried to help out, who died in an accident, which was really sad, and the person was thankful for the message, and I thought, I don't need to get any more message because that information was really, the information he gave was quite spot on. And so my brain had kicked in and said, no, move on. Instead of me going with the messages that I still needed to get more messages, I thought that was enough because I thought, there was a couple who died, he tried to help them, he couldn't help them, they're just saying thank you for trying, blah blah blah. Well, anyway, afterwards he came up to me and he went, who were they? And I said, what, do you have like many people that's couple that's died on you? And he went, well, yeah, I work for the ambulance, so I've had 5 couples like that. I just wanted to know which one they were. So that was a lesson for me. Don't always presume that the information you're given is that spot on that, you don't need to give any more. And that's what I'm saying about being an open vessel. Because I probably shut off from knowing any more information because I had presumed that the situation, you might presume that they've got a partner when it could be an ex-partner. It could presume that it's the mother and it's an auntie, because they don't always give you aunties and in-laws until you ask for more information. So wait for the big picture. Okay, number 19. How do I open the lines of communication? This is very important. As I said, I've touched on it a little bit before. Get a diary. That's what a medium does. He gets information, he passes it on. Put it into a diary. Anything that comes out of nowhere, you'll start to see confirmations. Your mates will probably say, I was thinking about you the other day, and you'll think, that was the time I was thinking about them, to give them a call. Then you start to realise that they're communicating with you all the time. Opening a page in a book, there might be information. There's all sorts of ways. Even picking up an object and saying, what is the message here for me today? And these pictures will start to come through. So open the lines of communication and thank them. Thank them for the message. It's a two-way conversation. When you're helping people out, you get information back. When you're dealing with the spirit world, thank them. You have to ask the angels if you want to have them helping you. It's not just about you. They're going to keep giving you messages, but the more they know you're communicating, the more they know that they can give you more messages. And if you're not acted upon the first one, by writing down, you're acting upon it. But if you didn't, then why should I give you another one that might be to do with that situation? Because you've cut the lines off. You've stopped the lines of communication. Because it might be that one. It might be, I had a situation where I went to do some work at this children's home, and then I had a choice to go to the second children's home. Now, really, as an agency worker, I wasn't really allowed to go to the second place, but I went to help out. Second place was even worse, and I really didn't feel comfortable there. Then I got a phone call to go to a third place, which is totally, but I thought, no, there must be a reason, so I went. And all the kids ran off, and then this lady had been under such extreme stress and pressure. I was able to talk for 2 hours and make her see a different way of life. And by doing that, I helped her she was quite suicidal, she told me. And she's emailed me and said, I feel so much better about my life, this, that and the other. And then all of a sudden I got a ding in my head and I knew that they'd sent me. Now, I still had free will to do that. If I hadn't have acted upon all those different messages, I wouldn't have got to that situation. I wouldn't have been able to help somebody out. So that's what I'm saying to you. By opening the lines of communication, you'll suddenly see it's for a reason. Sometimes you just have to go with it. If you're getting frustrated, this is a sign. All sorts of things are signs. We just don't always pick up with them. Okay, number 20. What tools is best to use? Right, well, psychometry for me, anything that you can gain the energy of the person gives you a nice link to their families. You can pick up on their energies. If you notice, a lot of mediums will shake your hand, or give you a hug, or hold your hand, or might ask for an object. You know, objects give you the DNA. If you've worn it a lot, they give you your energy, and they give the DNA of you. And so it means that they're able to get a lot more information. That's what all the tools are. You know, if they do angel cards or whatever. I know mediumship is direct, but by having their energy, it makes it a lot easier. It makes it easy to get the similar energy when you're talking to spirit world. Because you imagine you're opening the door to anybody, and you do get nosy people coming through as well. So what I'll say to you is, find out which best works. Remember, you've got to use your 5 senses and your 6 senses of knowing. The more you develop each one of them, the better you become a medium. Because you might have a gut feeling, oh, have you been really down? You've been really sick lately. You know, oh, my back's hurting. Might be them. Oh, I've just seen this great picture. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I've just had a taste in my mouth. A smell. Have you been smelling smoke lately? These are all different ways that makes it easier for the spirit world to communicate. So, you know, you've already got the tools inside you. You know, your soul's inside you, and that's the closest to the spirit world. So go with the instincts and gut feelings. Question 21. Any help on doing platform work? Right, when I toured the UK, we always had to do like a 15-minute slot. 10 to 15-minute slot. And a lot of the time it was stand-up work. We did do using objects, but sometimes we did directly. Now, when I did the few places I have done stand-up work, it taught me a lot about the different ways that you can give messages. A lot of the times when you're doing platform work, you have to be a lot quicker with the messages. So I tend to ask more for proof. Give me proof, 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 proof. Rather than build up the picture. When you're doing a one-to-one, you might build up who they are, what they are, and then the energy flows. You haven't got that time when you're doing platform work. So it's more bang out the information. So really try and get to the juicy bits. So even if you ask questions about the juicy bits in your head, or there's a particular message they're trying to give, then just quickly ascertain who they are. A lot of the times you'll get names when you stand up, and then bang out the information. Also, if I get people or spirit world to line up, this makes it easy for me then that I go from one to another. So I can highlight who the person is, because then I'll get them in line. I'll say, come on, show yourself, who I had you went over quickly, and then I get that before I start talking to the person, so that I can bang out a bit of information while they're giving me the next lot of information. I tend not to get the information beforehand, because the amount of times that spirit world have gone missing. So I don't like second-hand information. I like to have them there, and I like to be doing it straight away. Okay. And sometimes you get the bossy ones where they're not going to move until you've gone through them, so there's no point fighting it. Also, when you're working with a crowd, do realise that sometimes spirit world might stand behind the actual person just so that you start communicating with them. Don't always think that they are going to be the person's family. Because if they're really trying to fight to get through, they will send you names in, they will do all sorts, because they really want to get the message across. So you need to look out for this, is why I get them into line. Makes it a lot easier. Also, I asked the spirit world to give me green and red. Green for go, red crosses. Because some customers will not take information. If they hear for a certain information, they're not always going to listen to what information I'm giving. They may have come for a certain bit of information, and so if you bring through somebody who they don't recognise, or is not what they wanted, then sometimes they need to go away to find out this information. Or it could be that they had a lot going on around them at the moment, and so they're not really going to accept guidance at this time. They'll probably just come for healing if you're at a spiritualist church or you're doing stand-up. So just be aware of this, because I've also had people who really don't want information because their partners have brought them along. So you have to be wary of this. And so the spirit world can help you to work out who are going to be more receptive and more open to your information. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't work with the people with the X's. Just be prepared that it might be a little bit more difficult. And after you've banged out certain bits of information, if they're not accepting it, then move on. Because after so many no's, you get disheartened, the crowd gets disheartened, and sometimes you just need to say, "My Lord, this is the information I'm giving for you. Can you take it away and can you check it out?" Because it might be for a reason. It might set them on a different path. So you need to be strong of character to understand this. Also with platform work, it's basically about being confident. The more confident you are, the more that they will relate to you. Also a little bit of fun in between helps out. Often when I'm trying to have the pictures taking its time to grow, I might suddenly turn around and go, "Come on, spirit world, don't let me down. If you're struggling, be honest with them. You know, if they're not talking to you as well as they should be, it might be for a reason." I had a gentleman who all he showed me was 3 pencils in his top pocket. That's all he showed me. And basically, he didn't talk much when he was here. He told me he was an architect, and that was it. And that sometimes is the way it was. And the person was so delighted because she knew that was definitely the father, because basically he never talked. He had 3 pencils in the top pocket and he was an architect. That's all she needed to know. That's how simple. This is what I'm saying to you. The message that comes is simple. So sometimes you just need to give it as being simple. Stand-up work is the more you do it, the better you become, to be quite honest. And it's still nerve-wracking every time you do it. But once you get into that flow, you don't feel the nerves. Once you're into the spirit world, and a lot of the churches have got some great energy. I went to this one church at Tiverton, and I was standing there, and before I started, because everybody was going, "Oh, have you got any messages before you go up on the platform?" I was like, "Look, love, if I stand up there and they don't talk to me, I'm not doing it again. So they better talk to me." And all I kept going was Albert, Albert, and he wouldn't let anybody else come through. Albert, Albert. In the end, I put the message across, and he was actually part of the congregation. He was one of the ones that started it 40 years ago. But a lot of people didn't know who he was. The old owners did, and so that proved to them that obviously I wasn't too bad on the information. So he helped me out. So I thank Albert for that. But to have it going round in my head all the time was just thinking, "Oh, hold on a minute. Is someone trying to wind me up?" But sometimes you just have to give what you get, and you're not going to know the reason why. You get the information, and so it's really important. But platform work is good, but you've got to really be confident, join in with the crowd, and be honest. If someone's standing behind somebody and you've gone to them and it's not for them, then it might be for that row, it might be for that area. Somebody else might be able to take it. Alright, it's just the way it is. Spirit will do anything to get their message across, and you just need to understand that. And some people are funny on taking information, and they don't always say yes, or they don't want their neighbours to know their information. So they might not be accepting the information until afterwards when they tell you, which is very funny to know about that. Okay. Right then. Heard you go on about two-way messages. What's this? Well, it's very important. This is, if anything I teach you about mediumship, or you want to know about mediumship, the more you realise that it's a two-way message. What you're giving out is also messages for yourself. You start to realise that everybody you meet, everybody you help, you're helping yourself also. And this is very important, because the more the spirit will know that you're communicating with the person they're helping, but you're also getting messages for yourself, you start to realise that you are the pupil and also the teacher. So it really is important that you understand this. And then you take away, because if spirit world didn't work with you, you won't be able to work. And then it's more humbling, more understanding that you've been put here to pass a message on, and the message is also for yourself. So at the end of the reading or end of the conversation you have with people, just say, which bits were for me? And you'll go bang, 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 bang. They'll show you and highlight bits that you've got to take on board yourself. Or if there's a profound information, make a note of it, because it's also important that you might need to pass it on to somebody. So do realise that. Okay. Using the 6 senses, very important. We have hearing, seeing, smell, touch, taste. The more you work on the 5 senses, the more that you get images, and you, like an apple, you can smell it, taste it, feel it, smell it, be part of you. The more you can really see that picture alive. And for visualization purposes, that is amazing, because then people can really make the picture grow, and spirit world will know that you'll know about an apple. If you can't visualize something, or you don't know about something because you haven't used the 5 senses, then you're limited to what they can bring through and talk to you. So build your senses. Go in a field and smell all the different flowers. I got caught out once. My nan would have gone mad, because this lady said, if you don't come up with this name, well, I went, oh no, here we go. But I had a go. I got a yellow flower, and they kept showing me a rose. And did I know a primrose? I hadn't got a clue. Never heard of a primrose before. I know now. I can tell you that. This is going back some years, but this is how it is. You've got to build up your symbols. You've got to build up what you know about. Using your 5 senses is really important. And then you've got the 6th sense, which is it's just about knowing. Okay? It's just about sensing and knowing that spirit are around. You don't even have to know. You're not being able to visualize the image of the apple. Just know that they've shown you an apple is enough. You close your eyes, it's easier, but eventually you'll be able to see it on walls, you'll be able to see it in tables. I used to think this lady was batty. I used to come and get a reading from, but now I understand why, because her visualization, her clairvoyance kicked in, and they'll show you images and things as well. So the more you build up your senses, the easier it is, because you might get a feeling, I feel really, my stomach's really hurting, or I've got my neck sore. Somebody might have gone over who was hanged. These are all little stories building up the actual story and the theme that they're trying to tell you and get the message across. So the more you develop it, Paranormal's brilliant for this, because as soon as you walk in the dark, your eyesight's gone. First thing that you always look at everything with is your eyesight. So all your senses tend to not be as used as much, but when you go into the dark, every sense is heightened. So I would guarantee that going to a paranormal event will heighten your senses and develop it even better. So then you'll be able to feel things, taste things, smell things, all sorts will come out. How do you get messages? Right, that's very important. If it's in my own voice, it could be a symbol form. It's one of the way they're talking. They'll show me pictures in my head. I can touch walls with psychometry, and they can then show me images of what the place looked like, or feel what the place was. There's all sorts of ways that they can communicate. If the voice comes out of nowhere, I tend to know it's their name. If it's in my head, it tends to be a symbol. So if they gave me a name like Glenda, it might be the person begins with G. Because you might not know the name. If it's a foreign name especially, you might not know exactly all the name. And so if it's somewhere where you've never been before, then you might not know the name. And so either get them to write it out and draw it, the name in capital letters, so that you can actually see it, or there's all different ways that you can get messages. Even being sent to places. And if you don't go by one message to another message, then you might not actually receive the message. This is very important. People don't tend to act on messages, but if you have free will to act, I went to a situation where I was going to a place and I didn't really want to go to this place, wasn't happy, but then I met somebody there who took me to another place, and then in the end I saw an old friend who was on the verge of taking their own life. And so thankfully, if I hadn't have agreed to all those different places and we wouldn't have got in touch again, I wasn't being able to help that person. And all of a sudden the light bulb went off and I thought, oh, you sent me the whole day today to go and meet that person. But sometimes you do go around the houses because it's their way, the spirit world, of taking you and meeting people that you need to help. So sometimes you really need to go by your senses and need to go by your messages that come through. Okay, the next one. Sometimes I receive a picture twice. Now, especially if you get messages during the day and you're making a note of the messages, you'll get confirmation. If the picture comes twice in a reading, it normally means just give that. Might be like a red rose. Just give that, and that could be their favourite flower. That's what they put on the grave. It's not for you to know, and so they give it twice. That means the picture didn't need to emerge. That was the actual message. It was just the item. You don't need to know about it, so just give it. So if it comes twice, very important. If it comes twice during the day, act upon it, because it needs to be done. Number 26, wait for the big picture to emerge. When I'm getting messages, they come in symbol form. They might give me a rose, they might put it in on a box, and that might mean Rosie's chocolates. It could mean a lot of other things, but then they're feeling, oh, Rosie's chocolates, oh, I know what, that's their favourite that they used to like. That is a big message for them. Simple messages, but they grow the picture. So always wait for the big picture. I had a situation where I didn't wait for the big picture. I might have told you this story before. I was basically doing stand-up work, and there was a gentleman at the back, and I was given a man and a woman in a car crash. He had tried to help, but they died. I just want to thank him very much, and I didn't get the names because I thought, well, that incident was so spot on that I didn't need to know. But eventually it found out that he'd actually worked for the ambulance service, and that there was this fifth set of couples that he tried to help, and they died. So, sometimes I needed to find out and wait for the bigger picture of the message they were going to give and who there was to find out. So wait for the big picture, and you'll get this sense of feeling, this profound feeling that, oh, that's what that means, and then you know to give that message. Number 27, take pressure off yourself, give what you get. A lot of people keep asking me, oh, how do you stand the pressure? I don't. Sometimes I don't like it, because you know that people so much want messages. You get that one word wrong and they look at you gone out. But, in the end, the big picture is that you'll get the message through to them and it'll make a difference to their life. So I always say, take the pressure off yourself. Tell the person that you're going to be variable. I know the people on TV look like they get it perfect every time. They don't. They only show the best bits on TV. They don't show the bits where they're still trying to find out, they're still working it out, they're still trying to get to the actual message. Yeah, so take the pressure off yourself. Tell the person, I'm going to give what I get. It's not all going to be correct. Some of it you're going to have to find out about. Some of it I'm going to be wrong. And by giving what you get, it's more likely that that simple message you're not going to miss about. That's going to make a big difference to their lives. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I did one reading where I went and did loads, and it was all about a little toy in a purse that meant a lot to a mother. And I was glad that all the rest didn't feel quite right, but I was really glad that in the end this message got to her, because when she explained it, that it was her son that went over and that she just wanted to know he was alright, and that was all, it made a big difference to me. And you don't always get feedback, so take the pressure off yourself, because you don't want to miss the actual message. Number 28, how do you do it online? Okay. Right, well, online, basically, I go to my place that I've explained before. I invite the energy of the person to come and sit with me. I do also have the guides behind me and do through my heart the message that I get. I communicate with their guides, their soul, anything that's around them, any of their family that want to come through and talk to me. So it's basically, if you ever watched X-Men 2, when he sits in that big globe and he has all these energies, it's the same as that. Ask them a specific time to send that energy to you. Try and pick up on their energy. Go into your place will make the energy clearer. Get them to sit down. You might not even see what they look like. It doesn't matter. As long as you've asked for a certain name with their date of birth, to sit down there, to communicate, and then give what you get. That's how I do it online. I also use angel cards because the angels can help me give out messages that they need. And so that's how I do it online. Also do free readings. Do one question free readings so they can test how good you are, or that'll encourage them to buy a reading if you want to do it online. Okay. If you're doing it on the telephone, it's a little bit different, but it's still the same in the fact that you're trying to get their energy. So just try and pick up the thoughts and energy of the person, and then whatever comes through, give to them. But with the telephone, you've got to be a little bit quick. It's like stand-up work. So I keep asking for proof straight away. Okay, or you can do it on MSN. That's quite good. It works quite nicely. Build up the energy first. Have a little conversation with them before you start the reading, just to build it up. It's also when you're doing one-to-one, to open them up so it makes it easier. 29. Messages and signs are all around us. Right, as I said before, anything. You can pick any object up that you feel drawn to and say, what is the message in this? And you could probably write down 10 thoughts that come into your head. You can go into each 10 thoughts and expand them, and all of a sudden you start to get this big picture and a story. You know, everything around you has got messages for you. Everybody you meet has got messages for you. And it's up to you to open yourself to receiving. All you need to do is understand the signs. You know, if I get a little tingle on my right shoulder, that means someone wants to communicate for me to open up. Find out what your sign is, because that's important of when they want to communicate. Alright? Even have a time when you want to communicate. This is important. If you have a time of the day where you'll sit down, they'll know then they can have a conversation with you. Act upon your messages throughout the day. When it comes out of nowhere, act upon it. That's them guiding and helping you. Okay. Number 30. Letting go. Very important. This is the one big question. A lot of people try and control the messages, try and control the information, but the energy is free flowing, as I said before. So you need to let go. You need to trust in the spirit world that they're going to pass the information on. You can't control it because your mind will start making up situations. You've got to be that open vessel. Alright? You've got to be just the person that gains the information and passes it on. The more you put your mind to it, the more, even being a reporter and asking too many questions can stop the flow. Because then your mind can kick in and start creating scenarios that are not there, or creating situations not there. So, just let go and accept the information and pass it on. Question 31. Often heard you say timing is the key. What do you mean by this? Well, I always say that a lot of people are drawn to you for a reason. And often the time of when they're drawn to you is also a reason. I had a lady once who came to me, and I'd been able to do a reading for her before, and so she really wanted me to help her out. And I tried, and it just wasn't flowing. And I said to her, you know, the timing isn't right at the moment. There is a reason why, but time isn't right. So anyway, she went away. She went to 5 other psychics. Couldn't be read. She came back to me, and I said to her, right then, what are you holding on to? What is it that's stopping us from having a reading? And then all of a sudden, this picture came through and I passed it on from her mother, and she's just started crying. And then she released all the emotions she attached, and I was able to do her reading. So like I said to her, sometimes the timing has to be right. Sometimes we hold on to situations, or we need to experience something, and so they're not going to have the information at that time. Because there's no point, because you're not going to listen to it, because you've got to experience something first, or you've got to clear that emotion. Okay, number 32. How do I prepare? Well, water is very important. I have to drink a lot of water when I'm doing a reading, because this opens the line of communication. It also means that it keeps the energy flowing. So water is meditation is a must if you want to learn to be able to quieten your mind, to improve your visualization techniques, to be able to get symbols, to be able to switch into that world. Because the more relaxed you are, the easier it is to get on their wavelength. Just before you go to sleep at night is the feeling that you should be aiming for. That bit where you're just relaxed and you're just going to go off. That is the stage that you need to try and get yourself into when doing readings. I don't mean get a bed out and half asleep before you do the readings, but what I'm saying to you is that getting into that state of mind, being able to relax, being able to switch the mind off, is when you're going to get more information. So relaxation is very important. So you need to learn to be able to switch off. So preparing, I always do a meditation before I do a reading. And then eventually you'll learn to be able to switch off, and you won't need a meditation as much. But it's still very important. It always gets me right, always gets me in the right frame of mind to be able to do a reading. Do I need protection? Protection is very important. Throughout the day we're picking up emotions, we're being psychically attacked, we're absorbing negativity, so white light around it is very important. When you're dealing with a customer, you might not need so much protection, because you obviously want to be as open as possible, but any other time, the less you absorb a negativity, the better you are to do a reading. So protection is very important, and the more you work with the spirit world, the more grounding you needed and the more protection you needed, because we open up too quickly when we're dealing with the spirit world, and that means we can be drained a lot more. And also spirit world can also, if they want to put us off doing readings, they can do by giving us negative thoughts and stuff. So protection is important. That's why I've created my own CD, and also emotional cleansing as well as everything else. Chakras, I've done a full set because I work so much with the spirit world that I need it. I do that every night for an hour without fail. If I don't feel. And even my latest one, the Soul Peace, just brings peace to my life. It makes it a lot easier for me to communicate and get messages. So meditation and protection is very important, because you bring them home with you. You don't protect yourself at night. They can bother you. You don't have to have sleep. It's like a vicious circle. So protection is very important. I don't seem to interpret the messages right. This is like I said to you before, because you presume. Got to switch the brain off. You've got to stop thinking that you're here to pass messages on. Gift is the message. Alright? So, got to stop the brain from working. And to do that, you've got to get yourself into a relaxation state. You've got to make sure that you're prepared. You've got to make sure you're in the right frame of mind. Alright? And then you've got to wait for the message. And there's no point until the message builds up, until it feels right in your heart. Then you know to give. So, as far as interpretations go, the more you build up your symbols, the easier it is for them to communicate. The more likely you'll be able to see the actual picture and message that they're giving you. How do I clear emotional baggage to quieten the mind? This is very important. Very important indeed. Emotional baggage, problems do stop the flow. And our body and our mind will try and attract more lessons to actually clear out. So you also will attract readings that will give you information. So emotional cleansing, I've actually done a meditation on emotional cleansing, Also, there's different ways you can actually imagine yourself going into a room in a place and seeing a child that holds onto your emotional baggage and helping them through the door to let go of all what they're holding on to. Try and find out what it is that they're holding on to and where the picture connects to. Because eventually you might find a trigger which offset it. And then all of a sudden, it's the way we looked at that in the beginning that we held on to it. And then we realise the big picture on it. Once the child realises that it might not, it doesn't need to hold on to that emotional baggage, it doesn't need to hide in the corner and you bring it out, then it can release the stuff that's holding on to. So even writing about it, talking about it, but every time you feel pain, or you don't hide it away, or ask what it's connected to, and then it might be connected to a situation. Forgive yourself, let it go, change the picture, and then ask if there's anything else attached, and then you keep going back until you clear it. Do it with just names. If you get a name that really upsets you, there's obviously an emotional tie to it. Also, everybody we meet, we have a connection to, we have a tie connection. Now, if that's negative or positive, we need to cleanse it and neutralize it. Also, if it's a negative, we're just feeding it so we get more lessons and problems. So you need to be aware of that. So cutting the ties, imagine big scissors. I cut the ties regularly, just to make sure that people are not feeding off my energy too much. I don't mind parting with development group as long as they behave themselves and don't do too many nasty things, because it'll come back on me, because it'll open the lines for people to come, and also for your family members. So when you do paranormal, be careful that you cut the ties and you cleanse yourself, because energy can go down the lines to other people and affect their lives as well as yours. Okay. How would I know it's spirit and not my imagination? That's a very good question. Still to this day, I always say it could just be in my mind, but they give me such proof and such information that helps people, so I work with it, I go with it. You tend to find that when it feels right in your heart, then it is the right message. If it's some ego thing or something that makes you feel good about yourself, just be careful. If it's what you want to hear, I always say, then it might not be right. So by getting an open vessel, the more you start to do the proper things to connect, the more you get confirmations. Remember, the spirit world can't lie 3 times for some reason. Works well in the paranormal. So just check. Sometimes when you just don't feel right about an energy, then they'll only last so long giving you false information. And some actually can read your mind, so you just got to be careful. But you'll know that's why we use psychometry, we use all sorts to get the energy, so you can feel if they're just being nosy or one thing or another. Alright, okay, the next one is, how would I know it's family? Very good again. Sometimes when you want to do one-to-one with your family, to make sure that it is your family, ask them for a symbol that only you know about. And then when they come through, they show the symbol, it feels right in your heart, you know it's them. If you're dealing with a sitter, go through which side of the family you're on, and then look for proof, how they went over, or they should build up information that the person should be able to get to know that it's them. And that will tell that you definitely got the right person through. Why do I need confirmation from a sitter? Well, a lot of the times when we're dealing with customers, we're building up an energy. If we've got information that's come through, if you've got them with your heart, then you've passed the information. But sometimes there's information that just needs to be given straight. If the person doesn't confirm to you that it's okay, that it's right, then how can you move on to the next message? You might need to gain more information. So sometimes talking to a sitter, you need to say, I don't need to know the information, just give me yes or no, so I know if I need to get more information, or I need to ask them for more information so they can understand, or it might be a case that they need to go away and find out. But if the person's getting all this stuff and you're not, and they're just going no, or they can't take any of it, then it might just be that it's not the right time to do a reading. So it is important to know that. How do you deal with a total skeptic? A total skeptic who hasn't got an open mind, I won't even entertain. Okay, the reason for this is they've already made their mind up, they're already put into the universe, they're not going to get anything, and so they won't get anything. The only other way to get to a total skeptic is normally to open them up. And I do this. Sometimes I program quartz crystal. When I used to tour, I used to program quartz crystal. I used to get them to hold it. I used to program the crystal to show them a picture of something that they wanted to know about. This opens them up. Or talking about something nice that they like, or anything. Or, you've got a nice ring on today, or this, that, and the other. Open them up. If they're not opened up, you're not going to get their energy. You're not going to be able to get information. It takes a lot of energy. And if they don't want to know anything, they won't accept any information you give them, whether you're right or wrong anyway. So, to deal with a total skeptic, I like skeptics, especially in the paranormal world, because I can actually talk to the spirit to do things to get them to actually get stuff. So, I do like that, and I do like it when they cross their arms and stuff, because they're a bit of a challenge. And I know that eventually some of the information will get through to them. But if I'm doing a reading and after 4 or 5 minutes it's not communicating, then I know a lot of mediums and a lot of people who used to tour, they used to give them up straight away, because they don't want to waste their energy. And also, it's very disheartening that you're trying to help somebody out and guide them, and they just don't want to know, and they're wasting your energy and time. So it's up to you, but have a go, I always say, because even that little bit of information can make them think about other things or go somewhere else and find information. Okay, and the last one. Are you always able to read for someone? The answer is no. 1 in a million, or 1 in about so many, you can't. And because I'm a type of person that really wants to help people out, then, sometimes I do readings when I'm not supposed to be. And then they go flat, and there's just no connection. They're not getting any of this stuff. And I just wish I'd listened to the signs. I just said, I don't think this is time you're meant to get a reading. So do look out for that. Because Spirit World will let you know if you're not meant to do the reading, because they might need to experience something, and so they're not going to gain any information from you. Or they might have been to so many readings that the same information coming out and they don't want to know. And then remember, that's your reputation, because they're going to go and talk to people and tell people, I didn't think they were very good, when it was their own reason that they've stopped you from getting the messages. Okay. Right then, well, there's 40 questions. If there's any more that you would like to add, that I can add to this CD, then please do get hold of me. The only other questions that people tend to come up with is that more to do with development. And I'm putting together packages for development, but I'm also got some of the stuff on opening lines of communication, creating your plays, that you can go to my shop to get. So, it is helpful. It might be a different style to some people say, but really the spirit world is all around you. They are helping you, and you just need to open up and listen to them. Well, love and light, Brad Monk.